When multiplying functions, we can write it as f times g of x. This is the same as f of x times g of x. So all we're saying is that we're multiplying two functions together. With a number, we will evaluate both functions, then multiply the results. With a variable, we will just multiply the two functions together, and don't forget to use parentheses. In example 1, we have an f of x function and a g of x function, and we need to find the product, or f times g of -2. First, I'm going to write the function, the generic f function, with spaces for where we'll substitute. Since we're supposed to evaluate at -2, I'm going to drop -2 into my function and then evaluate from there. -2 minus 4 is -6. Now I'm going to evaluate the g of x function. The generic function is empty spaces. We could think of it as a substitution, where we're going to put the -2 and everything else exactly as it is. When I'm asked to evaluate at -2, I'm dropping a -2 wherever there was an x in the original g of x function. When I evaluate this, I get 4 plus 12 plus 8, which equals 24. Since I have to find f times g of -2, that means I have to multiply what I found for f of -2 to f of, g of -2. So, -6 times 24 equals -144. In example 2, you'll see that there is a difference because the first problem we were asked to multiply and find the product when we have a -2. In this case, we're using just the variable x, so we just multiply the two functions together and use parentheses. So first of all, my generic f of x function, if we were to write it without anything in the x place, we would get this. Since we're asked to evaluate when we have an x in the function instead of a number, that's what it looks like. Another way of writing this that's really simple is x squared minus 5x. The g of x function, before we put the x in, is written as g of blank is equal to blank minus 5, and we can throw the x in once again. And if we simplify it, it's going to look like this, x minus 5. So basically exactly what you had in the original. It's just good to understand why we have these x's here and how we're substituting them. Now, when we multiply f of x to g of x, we're going to get something that looks like this. X squared minus 5x, that's the g of x function, multiplied to x minus 5. When I FOIL that, I'm going to have x to the third minus 5x squared minus 5x squared plus 25x. So, checking for like terms, I see that my two middle terms add, and I get x to the third minus 10x squared plus 25x. This is equal to f of x times g of x. And that's your simplified answer.